Gotta get.
It's time for the Titan video.
Gotta get.
A review.
Gotta get.
It's time for
Now.
the Titan
Now.
video. A review.
Titans Ed here, back to do another video review. This time going to be reviewing Titans Return Leader Class Soundwave. Yes, I do have this one. I know I haven't done the Blaster review yet, but I like Soundwave a little bit more, so suck it, Blaster fans. Yes. This is him in his boombox mode. That's better. This is him. Not bad. Not the best in the world, but given the fact the last official Soundwave figure we got was Fall of Cybertron, and that turned into a communications truck. Yeah, I'll take this one. Oh yeah, he's not perfect. As you can kind of see, he has some holes in the side. Oh well. Unfortunately, mine has already got its gold trim on the front case flaking off. I'll get repo labels. They make him, the repo labels they have designed are looking to make him look a lot better anyway, so not too terribly scared about that. I will say the one thing about this figure that is recreated perfectly is the idea of the second version of Soundwave's G1 mold, which had an extended case that could hold 2 cassettes rather than 1, although this one can only hold 1 at a time. In fact, I'll show you. Pop this open. Oh, wrong button. Yeah, here's a faux button on this side and the real one on this side, which makes no sense to me. You take out this. This is for the base mode. I'm not going to go over the base mode. I kind of think it looks stupid, but that's just me. But you can store the Titan Master Soundblaster in here, and I'll talk about him in a second. But if you have any of these, I do have the others, but this one's folded up, so it's the easiest to display this in. Just put it in, close it up, and yeah, they can store in there. Wouldn't recommend doing that long term with Soundwave. Just because, you know, clear translucent plastic and it's held in from what I can only guess is a pin joint, I can already feel it cracking and breaking. Let's face it, this stuff does not have a long-term goal of survivability. I have a feeling in the not-so-distant future I'm going to be gluing this door on permanently. But yeah. Still, not bad. You can store the gun and his shoulder pod on here, although I'm a little disappointed the gun is just the blaster gun molded in blue plastic. It's kind of lame. Though I'm glad they at least made this, and it finally makes sense of why that part right there, that little pin right, or this little piece right there is always meant for this. So I have a feeling the blaster mold was intended to be a Soundwave mold first, and they just went with blaster beginning. Now, this part that I originally took out of his chest, it also kind of doubles as a, I guess, roleplay gimmick, because it has a pause and start button on it, so it's kind of like a remote control. But yeah, that's this. Now, to take Soundblaster out of here, quick thing about Soundblaster, if you can see him, I think they intended to make the homage to the Japanese Soundblaster, but then stopped halfway, because his lower legs are the right kind of black for the actual Soundblaster character, but his other half just looks like Soundwave. I don't know what's up with that. It might be just because they wanted to make sure to keep as much blue on the regular head, although with the helmet that kind of doesn't make sense. I have heard the Japanese version will address this issue with him being, other than the faceplate, completely black, looking more like Soundblaster. Soundwave. Now it doesn't want to come apart. Every other time it's been breaking apart just because I touched it. Soundwave is one of Megatron's first loyal troops. He's the first Transformer to join his efforts against the Senate back when Megatron was actually a freedom fighter and not just the tyrant we know him as. Soundwave quickly became the one Decepticon Megatron could trust with absolutely no problem. He reports on pretty much all of the other Decepticons' movements, whether good or bad. With that said, I don't understand why Soundwave doesn't constantly have a wiretap built right into Starscream's head, given all the times he betrayed Megatron, but I digress. Soundwave would pretty much survive through all 3 seasons of Transformers and would make it into the Kara Headmaster series, where he would have a climactic final battle with Blaster and die. But given that this is the Headmaster series, and from Japan, all you need is to grab the head of each Transformer, rebuild their bodies, and give them a new paint job and a new name, and they're just fine. Soundwave becoming Soundblaster, and I think Blaster becoming... was it... I can't remember what... I think it was some... I can't remember the Japanese name for the second version of Blaster now. But yes, this is Soundwave in his robot mode, well, minus 1 bit. This is robot mode, and I love this robot mode. This is an awesome robot mode. It just looks G1, and I love it. I'd say if you can't afford Masterpiece Soundwave, excellent substitute. Just get some repro labels for him. He'll be perfect. He can't hold the gun. I do have my eyes on a Shapeways third-party gun that looks more G1. All I'm going to need is some chrome paint to make the tip look more like the G1 toy, but yes. So, I am planning on getting at least repo labels for him. I am going to get... I am going to get the repo labels. I am thinking about getting that Shapeways gun that looks more like his G1 gun. If my only complaint about the toy, both Blaster and Soundwave, is that this only really has functionality in the base mode. And like I said, I'm not going to cover the base mode here. I might cover both Blaster and Soundwave's base mode on a later date. I think they look a little tacked on, if you ask me. Even though they have, like, dedicated parts for it, I just feel like it looks fugly. I'm sorry, it looks fugly. And I rarely put him in base mode at all. But yeah, I wish this had a little bit more connectivity. At least something like maybe a peg or something to hook up to his arm to be like a kind of shield/weapon. So, other than that, I think this figure is great. I absolutely recommend him to any Soundwave fan to definitely pick this figure up. Again, if my only complaint with this version, I have to take another look at the Japanese version to be sure, is that since this entire door is translucent plastic, I have a feeling it is going to break someday in the future, especially since there is literally nothing that stops it from banging down when it collapses down. So, it's something that I think is a lot of people are gonna have to be worried about. And I know some people say, well, don't handle your figure so roughly. I don't. I have a shelf, and I had an Energon Demolisher till his arms fell apart. And you know what? I hadn't transformed him for years, and I went to put him in robot mode, and his arms just crumbled. And that's the problem why I wish Hasbro would step away from putting translucent plastic on a figure that has a pin joint in it, because it just breaks down. It doesn't hold together. I really wish Hasbro would step away from doing that, putting translucent plastic in major pin joints and friction joints and stuff like that, because it doesn't hold together. It just breaks down over time, because it can't hold that there forever. I really wish they'd move away from that, because it's ridiculous to have to watch some of those Transformers just completely disintegrate because they had to put a pin joint on a piece of translucent plastic, knowing it's going to break. It's why I'm worried about my Generations Brainstorm and my and some of my other figures, because their canopies are translucent plastic that are pinned in place. It's going to break down over time. So, until next time, though, I will, like I said, Soundwave, awesome figure. Highly recommend picking it up. Along with all of his other cassette bots. I do have them all here, and I might review them all in one big review. But, yeah. Also, if I have to complain of anything about the way he looks, why Hasbro went with the toy-accurate yellow visor and not the cartoon-accurate red visor, I don't know. I don't know why they did that, but repo labels will solve that really quick. So, until next time, this is Titan Z saying I'll see ya when I see ya.